Pleased to say I'm now joined by Greyhound Trainer Peter Richardson, who is based in Durham and training out of Pelaw Grange. First of all, welcome, Peter.
Thanks for having us. Pleasure.
How are you doing today?
Not too bad. Good trial session this morning, so we're happy.
Again, I think it's probably best that we sort of cover your history, your background with greyhounds and where it all started. So where's best to kick off?
I've always grew up with greyhounds. My granddad, where before it was NGRC and greyhound GBGB, he had dogs flapping like Stanley, Hartlepool, all like the northeast tracks. And then my uncle, he took over. He got his NGRC license, then GBGB, and I was always helping, just even doing like breakfast, running the hair up and down when they were galloping. And then he'd give us a bitch for free because she was meant to go to Highgate. And I said, "Oh, can I have her?" So I was helping out, just looking after her. I think I was 16 at the time. I said, "Yeah, just take her." So I went to Whitley Hill flapping. She ended up being a back marker there, sprinting. She was E3 Newcastle before that. So I think she ran 10 sprints. I said, "I'll step her up, put her over the 4 bends." So in a handicap, the trap order's like backward there. So if you're off the red, you're at the back. She's got the stripes off the top. I think she's off about 9. You can't give an A3 dog from Newcastle 9. She didn't even know she was running with another dog. That didn't go down too well, but that was the issue. And then I got my kennel hand license for Darren. And then I think I had it 2 months. I didn't even create a dog for him. You just use way get you on a trainers. So went through that route and then it grew from there. I know the RPG TV used to do the kennel visits and stuff. And you're watching how they feed and how they exercise, and if you try and take a little bit of it, just make some of that works. It looks like I found my little technique.
And that will slowly start to develop and take shape after a couple more years.
Out of Sunderland, Star Catch Storm. He was one of his first 5 in Ireland, went to Monmore, won about 4 year ones at Monmore, and I bought him from Sunderland. He won year ones there, and then I bought him, but it was right at the back end of his career. He won 1 race for us, but I'd been open yesterday with him sprinting. He was the first taste of a dog that could run, like seriously run. And you could see glimpses of him, even though he's getting on and had a few niggles. You could see he was still a bit of a tool when he wanted to turn up. And then from him, probably would be Burma Eclipse. She was a gift from a breeder because he was packing in. He says, "There's nothing wrong with her. She's just going to go to waste. If you don't want her, I'll just rehome her." But I had her worked out. If anything in the race could go harder than 26:30, I knew she was beat. And that was the way it was. She was a pleasure to have me. She is a pleasure. I've still got her. She literally doesn't put a foot wrong, doesn't bark, she's just so easy going. But she was a lovely dog to have at the track. She'd run on the grass all the way around, but she'd put it all in for you.
And now you're actually breeding puppies out of her. You've got your first litter on the ground, and part of that you've got 3 pups that look quite promising.
Yeah, she had a litter of 11 for her first litter. Went down to higher book with Richard Devonish. She was eye-catching for that early. She didn't really steer. So I sold them pretty cheap, got me money back, and then I'm over the moon with how they've all turned out. My 3.
And
yeah,
the mix of Burma Eclipse and higher butts, both very quick and, well, as I've seen on her form, she was fairly quick away. So if the 2 do mix, probably quite ideal for Pelaw.
Yeah, originally they were bred. I think they'd get 450. That was me thinking. But the other thing was they'll be that far in front. It doesn't really matter. But not one of them I've seen can trap. They all walk out in their own fashion, and they seem to stay.
You think quite highly of Duchess of Dukes as well.
Yeah.
Thought he could have been the quicker of all 3 of them.
I still think she is. I know the time hasn't showed it, but when she's went on the first 2, she's going down the back straight. I mean, she's had 3 sprints, or 2 sprints, I can't remember now. But you can see as she changes her stride, she's starting to wait for the hair to stop, and she's still only 5-6 spots or whatever it was away from him, and he was flat out all the way. So she'll come good next week.
And considering that's all of their first 4-bend trials, that's quite promising. Actually, all 3 of them are in grading.
Yeah.
Like they can only improve on their sectionals and their early pace, and they clearly stay the 4:35.
Yeah.
What do you reckon they could be?
Well, Hurley Spring is the best dog I've ever had. His first 4 bends was 26.87. And he's just got to a Cat 1 final. So they could be anything. Just as long as they keep themselves right and just keep progressing, I'm happy if they win races. They were never, well, obviously when you breed them you think they're all going to win the Derby, but I actually wrote down on Friday what I thought they would do. So I did Bert's Arla 27.36.
Not far off that at all.
Bert Sabre 27.48. And the Duke's 26.96.
So Sabre's probably been the most impressive out of all of them, and you've pretty much got them spot on. Take the plunge. Everyone's got to give it a go at some point. So overall then, you've now reached your first Category 1 final. How does that feel?
It's like a dream come true, to be fair. He was entered a peeler the week before. He went to the first bend, got badly bumped, and he went to last. He was second by the 3rd bend, and if anybody's watched peeler, it's not a passing track. You don't pass there. He went past 5 of them, like they weren't there, and that's no disrespect to him. The dog was flying. And then the black just moved across him at the 3rd bend, chopped him off. He came second. So I says it'll win this next week as long as he puts it on the card. So he ended up being reserved. So I says, oh well, I'll just put him in the classic. He got the semi-final last year. I'll just put him in, see what he does. If not, he's guaranteed a run. And then he ran 3rd. I didn't have time to trial him. It's my fault. He ran well. Didn't really take the first bend, which I was a little bit disappointed with, but got through. And then semi-final, he travelled miles better out the blue and had a great race with Gary Hampton's dog, Bregamore Patch, who was second in the final. He opened up about level from the sprint traps, and Spring hung on to right on the line, and he passed us. But there was no hard feelings. It was me and Gary would get along really well. And we said if one of us, when we got to the final, he says if one of us wins it, it's a dream. So I was gutted that I didn't win it, but I was more gutted when I seen his was chasing down Move Over Charn, just couldn't get there.
In terms of mid-term and long-term goals, have you got anything planned out? Probably for a year from now, and then maybe a couple of years onwards.
See if I can find another few lengths in early spring. No, it's just work on these pups. Keep the spring ticking over. But I want to try and hopefully get maybe a race into the pups before the northeast winter hits, and then if they're going the right way, I'll just put them away and start again. If they improve enough, I know Kinsey's got the gym crack back, and that would be, if everything went right, that would be the target with them. As for Hurley Spring, I'm really tempted with Nottingham's 305 sprint. Big run to the bend, big sweeping bends, and a big run up the straight. And truthfully, I think he gets 400 flat out. So I think it might just be strength. I did Crayford with him. I didn't realise the open races were on a Saturday morning. I thought they were Saturday afternoon. So I was speaking to Graham Banks, and he says, he's like, the open, there's 2 trial sessions, one on a morning and one on a night. I says, so is the open races on a morning or a night? He says, a morning. He said, well, I'll just come for a morning session, see how the dog reacts to it. So I left home at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We got up, put the dog in the van. He went straight to sleep, and that started my long drive down. But we tried, and he wasn't too disappointing. But it's a long way over one dog, and I think that's the only reason that stops us. I've had 2, 3 chances are I'd be down a lot more often. I don't mind travelling when you've got the team to back you up with it, but with one, you're a bit gutted if you go down, take a bit of a bump, and it's all over.
The difficulties of training dogs that you've come across in the past 6-7 years?
Honestly, it's more of the financial side. I know you've got to have big pockets. If you haven't got big pockets, you've got to be stupid like me. I'm not exactly loaded with money. Still work full time. But I mean, I think the kennel before I put a runner in it, I think it was just shy of 10 grand. And I mean, that was for just turning from owner trainer to Greyhound trainer. And then you look at this, running a peeler, not having a go at peeler, but it's the worst prize money in the country. But it would never pay. If you try to run it as a business, it would never pay. So you've got to do it for the love of it. But when you're turning out dogs and you've had dogs go lame and they end up with nothing to run, and you're going out, you're just treating lame dogs in the winter, mentally for yourself, you're thinking, is it really worth it? Am I doing the right thing? But you've just got to try and battle through it and remember, they're not going to be lame forever. It's just till you get them sorted. And it's repaid as my patience before, but the way all the prices up, the cost, it's getting harder and harder again. So it's hard because I used to think I'd gallop them religiously because I run Sundays. I'd always gallop on a Wednesday. Now I've started to ease off galloping altogether. I'm just doing a little bit more road work, and I found it's made a massive difference in them. And the muscle mass and the definition that seems to be coming into the dogs, they look totally different. Like Burma Eclipse, I did a lot of galloping with because she didn't really steer, and she didn't really like going for big walks. So her fitness was just running up and down the gallop. Or I've got like a big 80 foot by 40 foot pen. She was in there playing like teddies, chasing the football. That was how she was done. She hated being on the leader and going for walks. But this lot seemed to be out on the road, where it helps where I'm at. I mean, we're back onto the golf course. So there's deer, there's rabbits, foxes, pheasants. There's always something to watch and keep the mind sharp. And I think that makes a massive difference as well. Keeping the brain ticking, because they're like us. If you do the same thing every day, you get sick. You've got to try and keep them fresh, but not change too much to upset them. Just a juggling game, really. I think there's two things that they should do. The first one would be build 2 schooling tracks and run them. Pay for your trials. That covers the vet being there and covers the bills. You can have one based in the south, one in the north. If you're pushing British breeding, you need to be able to school them. It's as simple as that. You're asking for a product and then having no middle step. So if you've got that there, perfect. And it's gonna create jobs for people, but it's going to be a massive asset for all the smaller trainers, or even the trainers where you've had like a lame dog. You can say, oh well, I just go and buzz them around the schooling track on X day. It's there, we'll use it. And the other thing I think would be more like standardization across the board. Like, I don't get why there's such a massive difference in traps everywhere you go. I think it would make a massive sense to everybody. Have one set of traps that every track has. And then, you're not going to have like dogs where you go, oh, it's the traps, he doesn't like the traps. If you've got a proper top dog, you can say, oh, well, we can take them there because the traps were all right. Like what happened to Oxford. I mean, they've been unlucky. Everything else has been great apart from them traps. But if they're the standard traps that everywhere else has had, there's going to be no issue. And then people are going to say, well, I'm not going there to get the traps sorted because, all right, say they're not opening properly, but then say it's just a spring. I'll say, oh, well, we'll take them around our local track and then take them back when the traps are fixed. That's the big issue. And then prize money and run money. My dogs cost the same to feed as anybody else's. So maybe more because there's less of them, so you can't get anything in bulk. But I'm getting top grade, I'm getting £40 a week a runner. I mean, I can take them to Sunderland or Newcastle. You can go year 8 and make more than that. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. So it needs to be, they've got to come from the top, and they've got to set it so, because we're all getting the same bills, and the bills are only going up, but the prize money is staying the same, and some of it's pathetic.
Just so that everybody does know, you are looking to expand your kennels. So if anyone does know of any sort of information on kennels up in the Durham area, probably best to speak to yourself.
Yeah, my numbers with the GB trainer list, or Twitter. I think it's at Rihardson Kennels. Just drop us a message, let us know. There's no harm in asking, there's no harm in going having a look. You've got to try. But it's definitely the next step. I'm kicking on the door now of getting everything where it needs to be, and the little routines are working, so we just need to try and take the next step. Bite the bullet, give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, at least you tried.